So just an intro so that when I have my video cutting, I know where to cut it. To reintroduce Kendra this month, she has over 70 years of real estate experience.
It feels like it in dog years, right? I love it.
All right, Kendra has taught budgeting to top agents in the country. I mean, hundreds of them turned multiple agents into multimillionaires through use of personal finance and accountability and budgeting. So she is an expert in this area and will do a great job today teaching us about the personal budget. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to share my screen. So can you guys see my budget? Thumbs up. You guys see it? Okay, perfect. All right, so let's talk a little bit about background. Let's go back to last month. So remember, you have to do your P&L first. Remember, profit and loss is determining if your company is making money or losing money. So we have to do that one first. So remember, the P&L is done at the very end of the month or the first few days of the next month, because you have to have all the income that came in for the month and all the bills and expenses that you paid in the month for you to be able to reconcile. Okay. Now, I won't give it all up, but because you guys are kind of close around here, I have been selected to do a TEDx talk in Lake Mary, Florida, coming up November the 16th. There's like 40 tickets left. If you're interested, let me know. But I'm going to be talking about entrepreneurship and finances. That's all I can tell you. But so I'm super passionate about this. So if I get really dramatic with my hands, just excuse me, because that's just who I am. But so our P&L, profit and loss, is strictly for business. It's really simple. Expenses logged, income log, separate the expenses or subtract the expenses from the income. Is it a plus or a minus? Now you can say, hey, I am running a profitable real estate company, or I am not. Okay. A lot of you know my story because I was spending $40,000 a month to run my real estate company. I know, Lindsay, I know, don't fall out of your chair. $40,000 a month before I got to take a dime home to my family. And I had no clue. All I knew is I had checks and a credit card, and I just kept spending, right? Until my husband thought I was working too many hours and I hired a business coach. I thought I was going to get coached on how to work less hours. And what I really figured out is I was one bad month away from bankruptcy. True story. So, what I would say to you is please, 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 if you're not monitoring your expenses in your business, get a handle on that sooner than later. It's really easy. Itemize your credit card statement, lump all your dining out, all your gas charges, all your marketing expenses, and then all of your income and subtract them out. Okay. So that was last month. That was P&L. So now we know that if the company's not making money, we don't have any money to take to our personal budget to pay our personal expenses. So this is where I was getting in trouble of robbing Peter to pay Paul. I would just take money here or put it on a credit card or borrow from this account or do this or do this. And so I love when people say, should I transfer all my balances to a lesser percentage of my credit card? I'm like, no, pay the daggum thing off. Like, get rid of the debt, right? Because you're just moving debt around. You're not really paying anything off. Okay. So now we know if we're profitable in the business. Now we're going to talk about bringing those profits into our household. Just to recap, we want 2 checking accounts, one for personal expenses, one for business. You want 2 credit cards, one for personal, one for business. And we want 2 savings accounts, one for personal and one for business. Your business savings account is where you put your taxes each month that you owe Uncle Sam. So when they're due, you have the money to pay them. Okay. All right. So P&L is done. We're going to pretend like you made $5,000 profit. Okay. And so that's going to be our number as we work through this exercise. You have a copy of this in the chat. You can print it and make notes all over it because you can print multiple copies of it, or you can just make some notes, but you're going to probably want to make some cheater notes so you'll know how to use this and have this recording when you go back to it. So we finished the P&L around the 1st or 2nd of the month. Now we got to do our personal budget. So at the top, you'll see the month and the year. If we were doing this month's right now, it would be August 2025 because our July business books are closed. And now we got to reconcile our personal finances at home. We start in column 5. Okay. So you'll see in column 1, there's all kinds of lists of bills that you may have. There's going to be things that aren't on here that you need. There are things on here that you don't need. Edit the form to fit your needs so you can tweak it. Okay. But that's what's column 1, but we're going to start in column 5. And you'll see at the top, it says total paychecks. So that's your profit. That maybe is your spouse, partner, significant other's paychecks. Maybe you have a second job where you get a paycheck or a commission from something else. Any money that comes into your personal checking account for you to pay personal bills are recorded in column 5. Okay. So in our instance, I'm going to kind of play with this a little bit. So in our instance a while ago, I said you got $5,000. Okay. Let's say your spouse also has $5,000. And let's say you have a little side hustle and you have $200. Okay. So we plug those in and we go to the bottom, and guess what? This is all the money we have to spend. We have $10,200 to spend. Nothing else. Okay. Now, out of this $10,200, we're going to do the I'll tell you, 10% tithing, charity, whatever. Okay. 20% you save and you never touch. You get to live on the other 70%. So technically, if you live by that rule, 20% and 10%, 30 came off the top. If I take 30% off of $10,000, technically I only have $7,000 to live on. You guys see that? Okay. So out of $7,000, now I have to figure out what my bills are. All right. So we're going to go back up to the top. Column 2 is your monthly owed minimum balances. Monthly owed minimum balances. That means my house payment is $2,200. That's the minimum I can pay, or I'm not going to be able to stay. Get it? Okay. Autos, $325. I don't have any student loans, and then I get to credit cards. Okay. If I were you, and let's say you have an Amex and you pay it off every month and it's $320, great. Okay. But the minimum's not $320 on a Visa. So our Visa minimum might only be $50. You guys follow me? It's what the minimum is. What you're trying to establish is your survival number. What does it cost Kendra Cooke household to run in a month? What's my estimated expenses, survival? What does it cost me to live? Okay. So that's column 2. So I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to record all my numbers. Now, the electric bill, we usually pay our whole electric bill. So if it's $86.20, it's $86.20. Okay. All right, all the way to the bottom. Now this is our survival number. If you are going to record your savings, remember my 20% of 10 would be $2,050. That's going to go in my IRA, or it could go in my money market. I'm going to try to fund that every single month, so that's going to go over here as well. Okay, remember, just minimum numbers. We're just looking at column 2. I got ahead of myself. Didn't mean to put that over there. Column 2. Okay. Column 3. This is the total amount that you paid. I call column 3 your truth in lending statement with your budget. How many times have you all been sitting at a conference table and they get to the truth in lending at the closing and the buyer's like, oh my God, I didn't buy a $585,000 house. I only bought a $225,000 one. Have you ever seen anybody freak out when they see the truth in lending? Because it shows their amortization, all the interest they pay for that house, right? So column 3 is kind of like that, because in this instance, if I went down to column 2, you can live on $5,000. But when we start plugging in everything you spend in column 3, all of your expenses, watch what happens. We've got our cars and we've got our credit cards, but we really are going to spend 200 on this one. And then we've got all of our expenses, and we're cruising down through here. We got $320 for this, and then we got $56 for this, and then we got insurance for $350. You guys see what's happening? Oh, I got gas, it's $300. I spent my groceries are $800. I gave my 10%, which was $1,000, and I gotta have $500 to spend on my lashes and my nails, and I gotta pay my IRA. And I get down here and I go, what in the Hades happened? I only had to spend 5 grand. How did I spend 8,500? You guys see what's happening? Okay. Remember, column 2 is all we have to live. Column 3 is where we're like, we're making it rain, we're spending money, right? Starbucks and Fleming's and happy hour and lashes and nails and all of that. Okay. All right. We're going to keep going, and then I'm going to come back. So now we're to column 4, and it says amount saved. Did I save any money this month? Well, that's a great idea, a good concept. Let's go back down here. Remember, we saved this $2,050, so we would put that here. Okay. Another way you can save money is, let's say your house payment is $2,200, but you want to make an extra payment over the year so you can pay it off 7 years sooner. Maybe you spend an extra $300 here. Amount saved can be retiring old debt. Okay. Meaning old credit card debt that you're paying off, so the interest is going away. If you have some IRS backed taxes, that's retiring old debt. Or paying down current debt, so paying early on your house, paying early on your car. Those are ways that we save money for ourselves. Or physically moving it into a SEP account, an IRA account, a stock market, a savings account, or something like that. Makes sense to everybody? Okay. So guess what? I got to save $2,350. Okay. Now I got to pull out my handy dandy calculator because the math is getting complicated. So in column 5, I put $10,200 in my account, and I only spent, praise the Lord, I got to save a little more, $8,507.20. So I have $1,692.80 left between those two accounts. Okay, I put 10,200 in, but I only spent $8,507.20. What happens to the 1692? Somebody unmute yourself. What happens to the 1692.80 if I leave it in my checking account?
It gets
Lindsay,
spent.
you spend it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh my gosh, I saved money and I'm just going to buy a new iPad. And then I'm buy iPhone 14 bazillion Pro Z QR, whatever, right? Guilty as charged. And then next month, when I have a not so great month and I only get to put in here, $6,500 and my bills are 85, I'm in trouble. Okay. So what I want to tell you, you need to do is make these two numbers shore up. If I get that $1,692.80 in my savings account and out of my checking account, I'm less likely to touch it. Make sense? Okay. So I want to save that for a vacation fund or a college fund, or I got to replace my roof in a couple of years. So the way we're going to shore these two numbers up is we're going to move that money to your savings account. I've got it on mine as money market, but you could say savings or whatever. Watch what happens to the last two digits. When I put in 169280, now they match. So I moved that 169280 out of my checking account, and now I spent all of my money. All 10,200 are gone, and I don't have anything to spend stupid money on because it's not in that account anymore. Does that make sense? Guys, this is how you accumulate wealth. Okay? We all say the next time I have a big closing, I'm going to put some money back, and a closing falls through. And the next time, and the next time, and the next time. And before you know it, you owe the IRS $100,000 and you need a new roof and you don't have one. So then it's a second lien, or then it's a 30% credit card expense. Guys, realtors are some of the worst. We are in the top 3 industries for being past due on our taxes. I would love before I die and retire my license for that to not be the case anymore. This is exactly why I teach this farm, right? I think it is critical that we've taken money out of the schools. We don't talk about money with our parents and our kids. And then we wonder why the national debt is at $1.72 trillion in credit card debt. Trillion with a T, just credit card debt. 1.72 trillion. Okay. We're not talking about student loans. We're not talking about car payments. We're not talking about house payment. Literally, credit card debt in this country is over a trillion, $1.7 trillion. It's not acceptable, right? Nobody taught us these things. When I found coaching, I owed the IRS. I was spending $40,000 plus $40,000 a month, and I had $54,000 to my name, and it was in my husband's IRA. We didn't even have a savings account. We had houses and cars and kids in credit and private school, and we had credit card debt and IRS debt. Savings account was never even on my mind. It was the chase. I'll get one more deal, I'll pay this off. I'll get one more deal, I'll pay this off. Guys, it's not like that. It's not working harder to get ahead. You have to work smarter. Okay. Before I go to the bottom, what questions do you guys have at the top? You got to track your expenses. You got to put money back for reserves. You got to save for the rainy day. You got to pay your daggum taxes, right? So what questions do you all have on the top half of this form that I can answer before we go to the bottom? Anybody?
Yeah, I want to know whose electric bill is $90.
I was just going
Please.
back. Sorry,
He
going
has
back.
solar. That is solar.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
yeah, it
No,
must be.
Yeah. I guess one question I would generally ask, as far as goes, like we are, do we move whatever expenses we can, say cell phones, right? That's generally something we put on a business expense. Maybe it comes off the P&L so that it's a pre-tax expense. What expenses did you generally find in your real estate business you were able to move to the business and maybe relieve some of the personal budget items?
yes, health insurance. Literally, I mean, you can write off your cell phone, but if the family plan is the whole family's on the cell phone, legally you can't write the whole cell phone, you know, bill off. So I just didn't really worry about the cell phone bill as much as I did the health insurance. So the company paid the health insurance for me, my husband, and my son. And so that was about $1,000 a month. And that was on the P&L under personal expenses. So I was able to move that there. I also leased my car in the company name because I had a fun car that was my weekend car, that was paid for, and then my husband's truck. So I was able to lease the car payment. So that was it was bought under my LLC. Excuse me. I've had people say, well, my tax person told me I can write off my dry cleaning, whatever. I would tell you to sit down with your tax person or shoot them a quick email and say, hey, I really want to dive in and embrace these expenses. What are some of the things that I'm currently writing off, or what are some of the expenses I might be missing that I can write off? I will tell you, having just been here 2 years, I just hired a new CPA here, and I'm shocked at how things are different. And like, my CPA in Charlotte didn't take some things, and he's like, well, why didn't you do this? And I'm like, listen, I'm not the tax person. That's why I pay y'all. So they all have different opinions and ideas and laws and da da da. So I will make sure that when you hire somebody, that they have some experience, A, in self-employment, but B, even in real estate, that there are things that they understand about what you can and can't write off. I used to, when I first started, I was like, oh, I'll just do the 1030 easy form or whatever it's called. Oh my God, what a dumb I thought I was, right? Or how smart I thought I was when I was really dumb, I guess is a better way to say that. So I would hire somebody that could help you with every single thing, but that's what I would say. Insurance, if the car lease is in the LLC name, if you know, you keep your personal cell phone separate from your family plan, obviously, I think you can write that off. You know, the other thing that now that I work at home, I've never taken an office deduction, and I've been working here for 2 years. And that's one of the things the guy was like, hey, you don't like, what are you doing? I'm like, they didn't ask me about that. So, you know, I want to make sure that I'm just giving you guys good advice. Find somebody that understands what you do and what you can write off, and that you're getting every single deduction, because no offense, lenders, but realtors, our expenses are freaking ridiculous. We need to write off every single thing we can. So, okay. Other questions?
You write off life insurance from your company?
I don't know if you can write off life insurance.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think that's a great question. I just wrote off our health insurance, which was super expensive because we were all self-employed with a kid. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else? Any questions on the top half? Okay.
That
All right.
well, I will
I'm
say on
sorry.
that, you may want to address that with your tax accountant as well. I believe if your business has paid for your, let's say, disability or life, that the proceeds can may be taxable. If you've paid for them with after-tax dollars, they may not. I'm not a CPA, but ask that question too when you're going through it. Like, should I put this under the business? Should I do it? What are the tax implications if I ever need a payout? Something to consider.
Yes,
Quick
absolutely.
question, Kendra.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead,
I'm sorry.
Dawn.
Quick, when you were saying the writing off your health insurance, how does that work? Do you take your individual health insurance? Because we have a plan that has all my family on it. So,
The company, because my husband and I both worked for the company and we had a minor child.
okay,
Um,
got it.
we were able to write it all off. Now, I'm not telling anybody to do anything wrong, but listen, if you have teenage kids, like my son from the time he was probably 11, maybe even 10, he did my mailers. Like, I'm not going to pay some company to stick stuff envelopes and put stamps on. And so I was able to give him, you know, a small paycheck, if you will, each month. And that went into his account that he used for like spending in college and things like that. So there are so many ways you can legally pay your children. My husband was our sign guy. He worked full time for the business. He did our IT and our website and all that kind of stuff. So we were truly a family business. We all worked in it together. So but I definitely think that if your LLC, one of the benefits of your LLC is, you know, that they're going to pay for your family's health benefits. I do believe there is a way to make that work. I would just check with your accountant.
I will. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Anybody else? Okay, I'll keep going. We can always come back if there's another question. I just wanted to make sure we addressed what was burning at the top right now. Okay, so we're going to look at the bottom. And really, this is where you account for your accumulation of wealth. Okay. Now, remember the profits of the company. If you're doing that section 4 at the bottom, you are already paying taxes on your profit. Remember, that's part of what that savings account is that we have for the businesses. We go ahead and take out what we owe Uncle Sam on the profits, like your profit, and you put that in your savings account. So when you bring your money home to section 5, to your personal budget, you've already paid your taxes. Okay. So one more thing I would tell you to put on your list, if you're going to talk to your tax person about, I'm doing the P&L and I want to set aside tax money, ask them what tax bracket you should collect. So for me, initially I was like, oh, 25%. And then as I started making more money, I did not adjust. And so I always owed some. So then I went to 30. And then I just got really pissed off about having to pay the IRS anything. So I bumped it up to 40, and they always had to send me like $800 or something. It just warmed my heart after being audited, which was the worst experience of my entire life, by the way. But no, get that number from them, but know that you won't see anything about taxes over here, because if you're doing a P&L, you've already paid your taxes over there. So this is your true net, bring home, get to spend. Okay, makes sense for everybody? Okay, all right. So if we're looking at the bottom, the right-hand side over here, it says net worth. We're going to track your money as it grows. What you focus on expands. This became a serious game for me. If you have read my book, some of you will know that chapter 4 is Money Matters. And I'm very transparent about, how all the money troubles I had and how I changed that for my kid by putting him on a personal budget and all of that. And I talk a lot about sometimes in relationships, we have somebody who's the spender and we have somebody who's the saver. And if that is your case, or even if it's not, I highly recommend that you do this personal budget with your spouse, partner, or significant other. Because when you are looking at, oh my gosh, on your credit card, you spent this much, and on mine, I spent this much, and it's becoming contentious. How are we ever going to save money? Maybe they don't realize what they're spending because, like you, they're putting their head in the sand, right? So I highly recommend you do it together and become addicted. And I know that's an ugly word, but become really passionate about watching your cash grow. Um, you know, I'm very transparent, which most of you know that, but one of my goals was I wanted to retire at 50, not because it was awful, but I just wanted to have that option. And I had a number in mind and I had to hit it. And so once we started growing our cash, we got on the fast track. And it was like, oh, we'll just eat at home. We do that now. We're coming home from the golf course. I'm like, we could just eat in the clubhouse. My husband's like, we can go home and eat a chicken salad sandwich. I'm like, oh, you're right. At one point in time, we were not that connected. We were like this far apart. So once we started getting on the train together, it gets easier. So that's why I tell you, if you can do the budget with your spouse or partner or significant other, it's really important. And this little box down here on the right is where you get really passionate about stacking cash, right? Money doesn't solve all problems, but it sure helps, right? It really helps. So if you have a 401k, you track your balance every month. I go online, I have all my accounts, all my passwords. It takes me about 30 minutes to do my budget. Okay. So I just pull up all my accounts. I look at, my 401k, my mutual funds, all of my accounts are in one place. So I'll take that back, two places. So I only go to two websites, but I just record all of the updated balances. And then out beside that, I put a little arrow if it's up or if it's down. If it's down, Greg and I are usually like, we'll watch it for 90 days. And then if we're not in a good place, it may be time to shift this money to somewhere else or whatever. That's part of paying attention to your money, right? Unfortunately, for the first 10 years we were together, we didn't have a lot, so we didn't pay attention. And now we're like, man, we're kicking ourselves in the butt. What if we had started 10 years earlier? So watch your money grow. All right. So 401k, mutual fund, stock balances, you see those on the first three lines. Record your balances. The next two say equity in your home. That's your current primary residence. Okay. And then equity in your rentals. Now, I only update those numbers about every 6 months. I'll run just a quick, recap of what's going on in my house in Nashville, which is not really a rental, but it's my second home. And then my equity here. And are they going up or down? Are they okay? Staying pretty standard. I just leave them the same. Okay. But again, I'm addicted to watching that money grow. If I go to the left side, at the top, it says money market balance. That's that savings account for our personal money. Okay. And you'll see underneath it, it says money market float. It can be a savings account. It can be money market. You can call it whatever you want, but that's where we're going to put 3 months of that survival number in there for the rainy day. You can call it rainy day fund. You can call it survival number. You can call it whatever you want. I call it my old crap money. If the crap hits the fan, I got some old crap money to pay the bills, right? So we like to have 3 months in there. I think it's pretty standard. God forbid you blank 1 month. You've got money to give to yourself to pay the bills, right? Again, if you have your own money to borrow from, rent-free or interest-free versus putting it on a credit card and paying back 15, 20, 30% interest, where do you want to borrow your money from? You want to borrow it from yourself, right? So that is your own savings account, 3 months worth of that survival. So once you establish, hey, we live on about $5,000 a month, that account should never fall below $15,000. You always want to keep 15 in there. So next month you blank, you got to borrow 5, you got to hustle like a madman or madwoman to get that 5 back in there because you want to keep it at your 3 months all the time. Now, once that's past the three times your survival number, then when you have extra money in there, you can take a vacation. You can put a new roof on your house. You can move it to a stock portfolio. You can buy a new car, right? But that account can be as high as you want, and then you can move it into other places and allocate it, but you can't do anything until you get 3 months there. Okay. The next one is, what did you save this month? Remember, our goal was to save 20% and never touch it. this will auto-populate it for you. So I put 10.2 in, we save 23.50. So we save 23% of our income. Awesome, right? That's the minimum. That's your bar of entry. Now, I want to pause for a second before I finish this and say, if you do not have a survival account and you have debt right now, this is kind of my rule of thumb that I've taught for a really long time. I call it the 1/3, 2/3 rule. So that's $1,600 that we had extra this month. I would say to you, hey, Lindsay, you've got $1,600 extra dollars. I want you to take 2/3 of that and pay down that bad credit card or that IRS lien. And I want you to take 1/3 of that and put it in your survival account. Okay. Because I want you to start building your nest egg, but I got to get you out of the interest as fast as possible. Okay. So I like the 2/3, 1/3 rule. 2/3 goes to retire your debt, 1/3 goes to savings until you hit that savings number, that survival account number, 3 months. Then I'm going to chunk everything extra onto that interest until I get it paid off. Does that make sense to you guys? So the 2/3, 1/3. Okay, cool. The next one is money saved year to date. This is tracking how much you save for the whole year off of each one of your budgets. So if every month you save $2,000, you're going to have saved $2,400 at the end of the year. Set a goal for yourself. Hey, I really want it to be $3,000. Okay, now you're holding yourself accountable. This is your money accountability partner every single month. All right. The next one is your cash net worth. Let me tell you what cash net worth is. It is that 401k balance, that mutual fund balance, that stock balance, stock account balance, that money market account balance. You add those up, and that is your cash net worth. That means that if you needed cash in a crisis, you've got those resources, you could go get it. So how much is your cash net worth? And then the next one says total net worth. And to the total net worth, to get to that number, we want to add our equities. So you would add the equity from your primary resident and the equity from your rentals or second home into that. And that's your total net worth. So you'll hear people say, I follow a lot of money people, and they're like, have $3 million and you can retire comfortably. Well, maybe some can and maybe some can't. Maybe 3 million is a great number for me, but is that 3 million in total net worth, or is that 3 million in cash? So make sure that you understand the difference. When you have a goal in mind with you, your partner, significant other, we want to hit this number to retire. My husband and I were crystal clear. We're like, it's cash. Like, we don't really look at our equities. We do, but that's not part of like what we wanted to hit for me to retire at 50. Now here I sit at 55, working probably just as many hours as I worked 2 years ago when I was working for somebody else, because I love what I do. So it was just the concept that I wanted to hit that number by a certain age. So don't get caught up, oh my gosh, she retired at 50. I'm never going to, that's not why I share that story with you. I want to share that story with you is we knew our number was cash. And then everything above and beyond that is excellent. Whole life, life insurance, equity in your homes, all the other stuff is separate. Okay. So just know the difference in the two. Total net worth includes equities. Cash net worth is the true cash stuff. Okay. And then at the bottom, we track giving. You don't have to. This form came from the coaching company that Gilbert and I met from. It's a brilliant form. I'm actually going to send you 2 forms today, not just this one when I hang up with Gilbert. I've really simplified it, and this is a little bit of a personal plug, and I normally don't do this, but the reason I did it, I'm creating a planner, a spiral notebook planner for business people. And it's going to be a simplification of this budget, but it's called Pathway to Prosperity. And it's really easy. It's expenses and income, separate and save. It's a little bit easier. So if this one seems like, ooh, this is overwhelming, you're going to get both of them. So just use, I don't care which one you use, but use one of them. But in the planner, I wanted to help people learn to budget. And so this planner does a lot of other things for us as business people, but the Pathway to Prosperity is in there. So when you get it today, you're going to have 2 options, just so you know. Okay. So tracking giving, that was just something we did in the core. That we wanted to make sure that we were being philanthropic and paying it forward and changing lives and all that. So we tracked our giving. So you do not have to do that unless you just choose to. So that's the form. Questions? Anybody freaked out by the form? Anybody currently do a budget besides me and Gilbert?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, good. Awesome. Anybody
I
else?
do too.
Yes.
I
I'm the
do.
worst, and my son just came up with an app to budget, and I'm supposedly the guinea pig, but I still haven't done it.
Listen, money is scary, right? It is one of those things that if you're not watching it, it's the fear of the unknown. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it, all of those kind of things. And I get it. It's hard to stick to a budget. Um, it is. And the pathway to prosperity gives you an opportunity to track what you want that budget to be. This is more of actuality, like current on purpose, what's happening. The pathway to prosperity form is a little different. It tells you what do you want your budget to be for lashes and groceries and house payment and all that. And then when you record what you spend, did you hit the goal? Yes or no? Are you overspending? This doesn't really give us an opportunity to see if we're overspending. It's just actual numbers. It's in the moment. Personal budget, the other one's a little fourth, right? And a little bit more accountability around your budget. So you'll have two options, see what you want. But yeah, budgeting is scary, right? It's not, we don't like to shine a light on where we're weak or struggle. Gilbert?
Kendra,
Yes, go for it.
no, and I was gonna say I do a budget. I've been doing it for years, but what I found out is that it's more scary not knowing, right? And the fear of not knowing can make it even more like tormenting. Where
Mm,
you and it's so when you actually see the numbers, you're like, okay, now I know it's not as bad as you can make it sometimes. And just like you were saying, how in a family you have one that's a spender and one that's not. You also have one that's more prone to budgeting, right? On doing the finances, and one that's gets more stressed out over looking at the money. So it's good
yes.
to know what you can work.
Absolutely. So Greg and I, when I first got into coaching and we realized there was a problem, uh, I would write the checks and he would write the numbers on the budget because he didn't like to write checks and we both needed to be a part of it. So there's a place for all of us, to help each other get on the same page. But yeah, just figure out, is it an hour a month that you sit down and do it together? Is one of you going to do it and then the other one sit down with them and review it? Like, where are we overspending? I will tell you, I talk about it in the book, but our son, as he got older, he would stuff the envelopes and put the stamps on it. And he would just hear us talking. And so sometimes he'd be like, well, why is this so high this month? And we're like, well, we went on vacation. And he's like, oh, or, he would start asking questions. And so he's 27 now and very, very money conscious. But I think a lot of it is you just start engaging your kids at a certain age. He was on a cash budget. Literally, he is 27, and we've been trying to help him fill out a credit card application in case he travels. Well, he tries to travel for work, but he has a company credit card, but he doesn't have his own. And I'm like, son, if something happens, and he's like, Mom, I don't want a credit card. So every time we talk, I'm like, did you fill out the credit card application? No, I lost it. No, I deleted it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such a hypocrite about it. He's like, I don't want a credit card, Mom. I saw, the struggle that you and Dad went through. And so that's another weakness I think we have, is not educating our kids on money. I mean, they've taken that out of the school districts. And I think that's a lot of the issue with the credit cards. You go to college and you get 10 applications. You're like, oh, I want to go, to Chipotle. And then the next thing you know, they want new shoes. And then they need a outfit for a date. Before you know it, your kids have $2,000 and $3,000 worth of credit card debt and no freaking job. Right. And it's like, it's crazy. So I'm very passionate about money. I think we got to get money back in the schools. I don't think it'll happen on my watch, but maybe some of you young people can figure out how to get money talks back in the schools. So back to
Well,
you, Gilbert.
man, so people can cook more than eggs as well.
Right?
Right. It's a few things. Well, listen, been another great session. Any other comments or questions for Kendra? Nah. Well, listen, thank you guys all for attending. We'll get the minutes out, the recording out here within the next 24 hours or so. We'll send the budget and second budget that Kendra's sending over to us to everyone, and we'll update our reminder system to make sure you do get the appropriate amount of reminders at the right time of day. All right. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys later.
Awesome.
Have a
Thank you
great
guys. See you soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.